Great people, this is James. Welcome to SelfMade Finance, where we teach you to be your own finance manager. In a layman's language, we give you the basic financial management skill that you need to take hold of your finances. Today, we're talking about how to survive in tough economic times. You know, this is a time of high inflation, high interest rate, high cost of transportation and fuel, and low income, which basically means that things are hard. But how do you survive in these tough times? In this video, I'm going to give you 7 things you need to do to survive. Welcome back to SelfMade Finance, where we teach you to be your own finance manager. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification bell so that anytime we drop a video, you can have it. So let's go straight to it. The first thing you need to do to survive in these hard times is to understand the time that we find ourselves in. When we say inflation is high, what are we talking about? When we say interest rates are high, what are we talking about? You need to understand the times that we find ourselves in so that you can psychologically position your mind to adjust to the situation, because there's a need for a lot of adjustment in your life. So until you understand the times and appreciate the times that we find ourselves in, you will never make that adjustment. So firstly, you need to understand the times that we find ourselves in. You know, at the time we're making this video, inflation was 23.6%, and what it means is that prices of goods and services are going up by 23.6% per year. What it also means is that when you buy something for 1,000 cedis, for example, today, in the next 1 year, you are going to pay 23.6% more to be able to purchase that thing. That's so difficult to do. You know, so this is the situation we find ourselves in. Banks are now lending at the rate of 25 to 30%. And what it means is that a business goes to the bank to borrow, and the person is paying 25% to 30% more. So the person will pass that interest to consumers, basically meaning that things are going to be hard always. So you need to understand the time that we find ourselves in right now. If there's somebody that depends on you, let the person understand what we're going through right now, so that if there's a need for adjustment, the person will understand you. Secondly, have a budget. You know, this is not a time for you to be spending without knowing what you're spending your money on. A budget is a plan that will lead you as to how you spend your money. A budget will help you to avoid overspending, because you can't afford to overspend in these critical times. You know, so a budget is needed in this time. You know, what does a budget do? A budget will list your income against your expenditure and tell you that because of what is happening, you can't spend on this, you can't spend on this, you can do this, you can do this. So a budget directs you as to how you spend your money. So this is the time for you to look for a budget if you don't have one. So in these critical times, if you want to survive, have a budget. Thirdly, live a frugal lifestyle. You know, this is a time to have a keen eye on your expenses. This is a time to draw a line between your needs and your wants. This is a time not to spend on anything at all. This is a time to be intentional about how you spend. This is not a time for you to spend anyhow. You know, when it comes to needs and wants, it's so subtle. You know, some wants really sometimes creep into our needs, and then we think they are needs. Let me tell you something. It is a need to eat, but it is not a need to eat from the best restaurant in town. You know, it is a need to wear clothes, but it's not a need to wear clothes from the best boutique in town. So this is a time to really focus on your needs and forget about your wants. You know, it's not everything that you can do now. For example, myself, I'm somebody that loves real estate. So I sometimes drive around construction site just to have the beautiful architecture around, just to have a look at it. But I cannot do that as often as I used to do. I cannot do that now because I spend a lot on fuel when I do that. So this is a time to cut down on expenses that are not so critical to your very living. You love to do them, that's fine, but then without doing those things, you won't die. So this is a time for you to cut down on those things and really focus on the needs that you need for your very existence. So be frugal, cut down on your expenses, and ensure that you can survive. The next thing you need to do to survive is look for other sources of income. You know, if you look at how critical things are now, you can live on only one source of income. so dangerous right now to be living on only one source of income. So you need to be innovative about your income. Look for other sources of income to complement what you're doing now. I'm actually my next video is going to be extra sources of income, so you need to always be here so that you can learn something from that. But what I'm saying right now is that you need to look for other sources of income to complement what you're doing right now, because mind you, expenses are going up every day, things are being increased every day. So if your income is the same, how do you survive? This is a time for you to look for other sources of income. You don't need to necessarily get so involved, get so active with those things. It can be passive source of income. It can be an investment that you put your money in. So just be innovative. Look for other sources of income to complement whatever you have right now. And I believe you're going to be fine. Don't stick to what you're doing right now. It is so dangerous to do that. Just look for other sources to complement that, and you're going to be fine. The next thing to do is to avoid unnecessary debt. Why am I using unnecessary debt? Because some debt are necessary. Some debt can be used to create wealth. So debt is not all bad, but when it is not necessary, it should be avoided. This is not a time for you to borrow for anything at all. Anytime you borrow, just ensure that this is something that is going to bring you more income. So if that is not going to happen, you don't have to borrow, because mind you, I said that interest rate is around 25 to 30%. So when you borrow, you are paying 25 to 30% more. So if it's not for something that is so important, you don't have to borrow. So avoid unnecessary debt. Make sure that any debt you incur will bring you more money. Otherwise, avoid it. The sixth thing to do is to avoid living to impress others. We live in a society where people especially live a particular lifestyle because of how they perceive you. But this is not a time to impress people. This is not a time to live the way people especially live. This is a time for you to live the way you want to live, because mind you, all these expectations require some level of financial commitment that can really hurt your finances. So this is a time not to pay heed to all these things on social media, but to live for yourself. For example, this is a time of people going for the latest phones in town. This is a time everybody's moving towards the latest iPhones available. But ask yourself, do you need the latest iPhone, or you're buying it because somebody has bought it? That's a question you need to ask yourself anytime you want to go for that. So this is not a time to follow the crowd. This is not a time to do it because everybody's doing it. Just make sure that anytime you're buying something, it is worth buying and you need it. Finally, make investment a priority. Like I said in the beginning, interest rate is up. Inflation is now 23.6%. What it means is that your money is losing its value on daily basis, on weekly basis, on a yearly basis. So if you don't invest your money, you're going to suffer. So make investment a priority. After you plan your liquidity, make sure any other thing that is left has been put into an investment account. Make investment a priority, and I believe you can survive in this tough time. Wow. Congratulations for going through this. I believe you are going to survive with these things if you really stick to them. So stick to them, implement them, and believe me, you will get there. God bless you. Bye-bye.